Good evening, Sword Family. Tonight I'm going to be discussing the differences between Han, Tang, and Qing Dynasty Jiàn. Now, on the couch right next to me, I have all of the different swords that I'm going to be discussing and the differences between them. And probably we'll start with the most recent dynasty, which is the Qing Dynasty from 1644 to 1912. Now, this is probably going to be the most familiar design of sword. Most of the time when you see movies like Crouching Tiger, if you look for the Tai Chi sword, you're going to find something like this. Got a tassel. Got this kind of wing-shaped pommel, either with the wings pointing up towards the hand or down towards the blade. Going to have a suspension system kind of like this. Usually a threaded pommel with a ring attached to it, or a hollow pommel to attach the tassel to. Obviously double-edged because it's a Jiàn. Central ridge. So yeah, if you look up Tai Chi sword, you're probably going to find a Qing Dynasty Jiàn. Next up is the Tang Dynasty from 618 to 907. And that's going to be this guy right here. Very minimal, thin guard. Some of them will be bigger on the ends here. You'll get more of a wider spot on the outside of the guard. You'll have a similar suspension system. This one doesn't have one because I took it off. Usually a nice little spot on the handle to put a tassel on. Again, this one doesn't have one because I took it off. The handle is quite a bit longer. If we compare it to the Qing Jiàn, just the handles, you can see the tongue is much longer. Can easily accommodate two hands with room to spare. Some of them, not all of them, but some will have unsharpened and then a very, very small sharpened section towards the bottom. So it's blunt up until right there. And then it's sharp the rest of the way down. That is your Tang Jiàn. And last is the Han Jiàn. Now this is a little bit more complicated, at least as far as I am concerned. The Han Dynasty went from 202 BC to 220 AD. There was a little bit of time in between there that it wasn't exactly the Han Dynasty, but recently, when people have been discussing Han Dynasty swords, I'm going to show you something like this. This is an LK Chen Magnificent Shu Jiàn. Very, very minimal guard. It has a little bit of decoration on this one. A lot of them don't have any decoration. You have a cord-wrapped handle, round pommel. Like I discussed in my Han Jiàn review, you have a suspension system of a sword slide that is also usually cord-wrapped. Very wide end cap on the scabbard. Now, a lot of people in the last, well, basically since LK Chen came on the scene, are saying that this is actually what a Han Jiàn looks like, and what was considered the Han Jiàn before this was an invention in the Qing Dynasty. I do not agree with this, because there was of a tomb of a king named Jiao, who lived from 175 BC until 124 BC. And in that tomb, they found several swords. And yes, this was during the Han Dynasty. And yes, there were some that looked like this. But there were also some with guards that looked more like this. Those who saw my Han Jiàn trainer review will recognize this sword. People saying that this is not a Han Dynasty guard design, I want you to look at something. Look at this. These are two of the swords that were pulled out of Jiao's tomb. Now look at this right here and tell me that guard does not look. There's another one. Very thin, minimalistic, but this one. Tell me that that guard does not look more like this one than this one. Look at that. It is wider. It comes to a point that is in line with the central ridge of the blade. It comes up and then back down and back up again. This sword was excavated from Jiao's tomb, who lived during the Han Dynasty. So people who say that this is a Qing Dynasty invention, it might not be as pointed right here. But as far as I'm concerned, this looks pretty close to this. So there you go. Now, I'm sure you noticed that I did not mention the dynasty, or one of the dynasties, between the Tang Dynasty and the Qing Dynasty. That is the Ming Dynasty from 1368 to 1644. I do not currently have a Ming Dynasty sword, but they were similar enough to the Qing Dynasty swords that it's not really all that different. This is the LK Chen White Serpent. And if you look down here, it says Ming 1368 to 1455 AD. That is the estimated time period that the original came from. And as you can see, it's pretty similar in look to this one. There's that one. There's that one. If we look here, you can see it's pointing towards the hand again. Very, very large pommel with a hole through the handle for a lanyard, which is originally what a lot of people think that tassels, you can look back and see artwork of Jiàn and Dao with lanyards that you could, stick your hand in during combat so that you wouldn't lose your sword. And now we have tassels for decoration and added flair when you're doing forms. So there you go. Qing Dynasty. Larger pommels, almost cloud-shaped. Pretty good-sized pommel with a nut for the tassel or a hole in the handle. Tangjian, longer handle, small ring, possibly for lanyard or tassel, very, very minimalistic guard, and Hanjian, round pommels, wrapped handles, small guards, and sword slide. That is the difference. Check out my Patreon, patreon.com/bladedthesis. Check out my photographs at DeviantArt at deviantart.com/bladedthesis. You can check me out at indiecd.org/about-bladed-thesis. Or you can buy a shirt from bonfire.com/store/the-teahouse. Thank you for watching. 再见。